What's going on, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and I wanted to discuss and catch you guys up on the Fury and Usyk fight. Okay. Now, in the past week, we've heard different news. Now, we know that Tyson Fury is already scheduled to fight Francis Ngannou in the exhibition later this month. All right, October 28th. It will be a pay-per-view. I think it's going to be like $79.99. All right, but Usyk and Fury officially signed to fight each other, and it's going to be a two-way rematch clause, meaning whoever loses the fight, they'll be allowed to activate a rematch clause. All right. So what does this mean? Now they're trying to make the fight. They're trying to set the date in Saudi Arabia for December 23rd, so late in December. All right. And my thoughts on that is I don't really believe that the fight is going to happen in the end of the year unless Fury beats Ngannou without taking any damage at all. You know what I mean? And it's possible that may happen because I don't really see Ngannou having much of a chance of winning this fight. I know he's pretty explosive. I know he's a extremely hard puncher over there in the MMA world. I've watched all of his fights over there. I'm a big fan of him. And, I do hope he makes a lot of money, not for nothing. Even though I don't want this fight on a boxing end, I do wish Ngannou luck and stuff because I think he's extremely underpaid over there in the UFC. But we've talked about this plenty of times. But with that being said, this fight is supposed to happen in December if Usyk gets past Francis Ngannou, of course. And the title is not even on the line for that fight. But Usyk and Fury finally signed. Hopefully we really get the fight. When I hear fight, like words like fight is agreed on, fight is signed, I don't believe a fight is really happening until we get an actual press conference. And even sometimes that's not good enough because we've gotten those things, and then we have other things that cause a fight to get rescheduled. All right. But what does this mean? The fight would be for undisputed. All right. If the fight goes down next, it will be undisputed. But we have an IBF mandatory in Filip Hrgovic. He is the IBF mandatory right now. All right, and he is, after this fight, regardless if there is a rematch or not, and there probably will be a rematch, Hrgovic will be the IBF mandatory, and in order to have a rematch, that belt is going to be stripped. So whoever wins this fight, they're going to be stripped of the IBF strap. All right, and Hrgovic will probably be elevated, or he'll probably fight the number 2 for the belt. I don't know how that's gonna work. But in other news, originally Anthony Joshua was the number 2 behind Filip Hrgovic, and there were talks that from Eddie Hearn that Hrgovic might be fighting Joshua for that number 2 or that number 1 IBF spot. Right, because Joshua is right there. But being that Wallin beat Muragassiev the other week, he's been elevated to the number 2. All right, so Anthony Joshua is actually the number 3 now. All right, so the IBF is not enforcing anything with Anthony Joshua right now. He's just not. And I don't know what's going to happen with that because Joshua, there's a lot of things that we're hearing. We've been hearing over the past month or so that him and Wilder was going to fight each other next. We've been hearing a lot of things, but we haven't even gotten any results. We heard that they were trying to make the fight happen on the undercard of Fury and the Usyk fight at the end of this year. That's what we originally heard, but now we're hearing that fight is going to happen early next year. And we also hearing that there's a possibility that Anthony Joshua might be fighting on the undercard of Eubank Jr. and Conor and Ben. You know what I mean? So we really don't know what's going on with AJ. I don't know if it's possible for AJ to fight Hrgovic, for that number one spot. I don't know how that works now. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a way that Hrgovic or Wallin can fight Anthony Joshua, because I think Anthony Joshua, if he's not going to fight Wilder next, he is probably going to have another fight in between fighting Wilder next. And Wilder at some point is going to have to take another fight because he just hasn't been active like that, during the pandemic. He fought Fury, but, after the Fury fight, what did he just knock out? What's this guy name? Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, Deontay Wilder just hasn't been active in the past few years. You know what I mean? And then when the pandemic happened, and he lost that rematch against Fury, Robert Helenius, when that happened, there was the whole thing with Glovegate, and then the contract had expired, and they weren't going to have a third fight. So a lot of time had passed. In 2019, he fought Luis Ortiz. 2020 fought Fury for the second time. And then in 2021, again, he fought Fury for the third time. But even that fight was like 18 months, 19 months, or even longer than that from what I've seen, like 20 months here. And the difference between the second fight and the third fight. And then he went a whole nother year until fighting Helenius for one round. You know what I'm saying? So I keep saying on here, and I know Andy Ruiz, according to Team Wilder, they're basically saying that Andy Ruiz is overpricing himself. He's pricing himself out. He wants $10 million and all this stuff. I don't really know what's going on anymore, man. But I'm really shocked that there's an issue with making Wilder and Andy Ruiz. That's a fight that I thought we would see by the end of the summer, to be honest. You know what I mean? Just made sense. And as much as I want to see Wilder and AJ fight each other, I just thought that the Ruiz fight would take place first. You know what I mean? Just because it's a PBC fighter against a PBC fighter. They've both been involved in pay-per-views. Wilder lost to Fury and all that, but at the end of the day, he beat Luis Ortiz. Andy Ruiz recently beat Luis Ortiz, beat Anthony Joshua before. So it just made sense to make that fight. But we really may not get that fight because they can't come to some sort of agreement that's realistic in order to make the fight. According to Team Deontay Wilder, Malik Scott said over the weekend that he doesn't believe that Anthony Joshua really wants to fight, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because you hear one video with Malik Scott and he seems so promising that the fight is going to take place between AJ and Wilder. But the next interview, you hear AJ doesn't really want to fight. He just believes that AJ will be fine without fighting Wilder at all. I don't know what to believe anymore. You know what I mean? Because everything is so inconsistent with this, and it's been like this for years. But even now, it's just like you're hearing a different thing. And this is why most of the time I wait till several reports come out before I speak on it, because everything needs to be updated, and I try to keep you guys updated with the heavyweight division, but it involves a lot of talking, a lot of words, and less fights. You know what I mean? And I've said to you guys before, and my key thing that I always say, let's close this generation out. Let's put everything to rest and see who's really the best, because there are certain fights that still need to take place so we can move forward with the next generation of top heavyweights. All right, but that's what's going on right now. A lot of unknowns, a lot of nothing official yet. Again, Usyk and Fury supposed to be signed. So that's decent news, but we want to make sure that everything, works out when this Ngannou fight is over. And we want it to be for Undisputed, and it should be for Undisputed. But I want to make sure that a fight really, really goes down. Also, to mention, Tyson Fury is going to be, he's supposed to be sparring and training with Jai Opetaia, and He's the one that he's the cruiserweight that just beat Jordan Thompson, southpaw that looks incredible. You know, very very athletic, and definitely some similarities there with him and Usyk. And from what I've seen, Jai looks like he is the best cruiserweight since Usyk was at cruiserweight. You know what I mean? He's already beaten Marius Briedis, you know, in a very close fight, but he won. You know, I think is a great fighter to prepare for when it comes to Usyk. You know, very great fighter because a lot of these heavyweights, like an Otto Wallin, yes, he's a southpaw, but you know, Usyk is so athletic. He moves so well. You know what I mean? And I think his IQ is great, but his athleticism is what makes him so good because he can fight at a high rate for so long. You know what I mean? Even at his age. So I can't wait for that undisputed fight to happen. But I also can't wait for some of the other fights that should happen, like Joshua and Wilder, or Wilder and Ruiz, or Fury against AJ. The few fights that we haven't gotten yet, hopefully we still get them. But in the meantime, AJ, I don't know what AJ is going to do, but if he could fight Wallin, if he can fight Hrgovic, you know, if he can even fight this guy, Zhang, those are all good fights, you know. And Zhang getting the matchup with, so I believe now that he's the WBO #1. Zhang getting a matchup, a rematch with Hrgovic would be great too, you know, because a lot of you guys still say to this day that Hrgovic lost that fight, you know. So all of those are cool, but I wanted to give you guys an update on the heavyweight division. Again, we'll talk more about this soon, especially when I go live again. But this is what's currently going on with the top tier guys up there. All right. So we'll speak more on this. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.